anything from what I'm saying now? If I do, even in your earphones. Okay, I'm currently saying something on an open mic. I'm not sure if the guys have opened the sound to the public. Maybe not. So you're saying if we leave, can I speak here? Is it coming out? If are you hearing anything from what I'm saying now? Obviously, it's going to have a bit of a delay. Are you hearing anything? Are you hearing any bell? I'm told it's coming out from the chamber. It's not fully open though, because everyone is looking at me now. Um, okay. Okay, I think you just need to at least be patient a bit with us because we haven't fully opened everything. Um, but I'm speaking now. I think we'll be directed by the proceedings here when they start. Then that's when we're going to open. So we're not sure what time that will be. Yes.
All rise. All rise. Order, Madam Speaker.
There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer and meditation. Please be seated. Honorable members, let me take this opportunity to welcome the Honorable Premier, MECs, honorable members, the DG. You brought your HODs. Well done, DG. I think it's PMDS that. They are here today, and the guests in the gallery, you are most welcome, as well as the media and those who will be joining us on the social media platforms, to the tabling of the policy and budget votes for today. It's quite a long day that we have set aside, but just a few ground rules to those in the gallery. Please do not disturb us by having your phones on. Please make sure that it is either switched off or on vibrate. If you have something interesting that you see there and you want to share and laugh, please, I'm not going to stop you, but please do go out and go do it outside. It's quite disturbing when you hear the mutterings and the whispering while members are at the podium to engage on that respect. But you are welcome, and I'm quite sure that the respective departments, as they are tabling, will introduce the respective guests that they have invited. Unfortunately, I have not received a list from any of the department on those who they would want us to profile for today. Our sign language interpreter, as always, is on a duty, the best in the country that we are having, always excellent service that we are getting for that. As well as the translation services, welcome to those women and men that work diligently behind the scenes each and every day. Before we proceed, just to note once again that we are having the issues of members who are not appropriately dressed, and in accordance with Rule 79(1) of the standing rules, we will therefore refer these members to the Ethics Committee in terms of Rule 104. 102, because they are deliberately contravening the standing rules. So the Ethics Committee has got quite a number of issues to deal with. I've had a meeting with the Deputy Speaker on this matter as presiding officers, so that we get that report before the end of April, and it must be tabled in the House. We are not going to allow anything beyond the end of April, that report, even if we have to ensure that we have a special sitting to deal and conclude those matters that has been with the legislature for a number of years. Let us first start with the notices of motions. I have received 4 from Honorable Matkashela. We have 2 from Honorable Kasim, and then Honorable Zibula, in that order that we have received it. Honorable Matkashela, I think it's actually 3 that you are having. Those are 2. Okay. Thank you. Over to you.
Thanks, Honorable Speaker. Greetings to you and the entire members of the legislature, the support staff, and the guests. Madam Speaker, I move without notice in terms of Rule 130 that despite the provisions of the standing rules of procedure of the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature, that the House approves change on starting times of the House as follows. The 28th of March 2023 for the House to start at 10. The 30th of March 2023 for the House to start at 10. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip, honorable members. I put it for adoption. Thank you so much. You may proceed, Honorable. You may proceed, Honorable Chief Whip.
Thanks once again, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I move without notice in terms of Rule 130 that the House note that it is with deep sadness that I rise today to express our condolences to the families of the 4 people who lost their lives as a result of the heavy rain and flooding in the OR Tambo district. Regrettable, the recent heavy rains have caused widespread damage and destruction, displacement of communities and damage to infrastructure, and our hearts go out to all those who have been affected by this tragedy. We are particularly saddened by the loss of lives, and our thoughts and prayers are with their families and loved ones during this difficult time. Recognize that the heavy rain and flooding have had a devastating impact on the communities of the OR Tambo district, and in particular in Port St. John's local municipality, causing significant damage to infrastructure and homes, and disrupting essential services such as water and electricity. Bear in mind that the government has already taken action to provide emergency relief to those affected by the flooding, including the deployment of disaster management teams to assess the damage and the provision of food, shelter, and other essential items. Acknowledge that more needs to be done to prevent such tragedies from happening in the future. This includes investing in infrastructure to improve drainage and water management systems. As well as ensuring that communities are equipped with the knowledge and tools to prepare to respond to natural disaster. Understand that the loss of these 4 lives is a stark reminder of the devastating impact that natural disasters can have on our communities. As we work to provide relief and support to those affected by the flooding in the OR Tambo district, we must also redouble our efforts to build resilient communities that are better prepared to withstand such events. Urges the government to continue to prioritize disaster risk reduction measures and to work with communities to build a safer, more resilient future for all people in the Eastern Cape. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the 4 people who lost their lives and with all those affected by the flooding in the OR Tambo district and other parts of the Eastern Cape. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip, honorable members. I put the motion without notice for adoption. Thank you. Honorable Kasim. Just use the mic next to you. Can somebody just attend, sitting there is no sound?
Can use this one, Honorable Kasim.
Can you just look to where Honorable Committee Benjamin is? My apologies, Honorable Kasim. Honorable Benjamin.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Speaker, I hereby move a notice of motion in terms of Rule 131(1) of the Standing Rules of the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature, that this House, noting that 1, the issue of vandalism at Eastern Cape schools continue to cost the Department of Education millions of rands in damages each year. 2, schools have become easy targets for criminals with water and electricity infrastructure targeted. 3, schools do not have the budget to appoint security officers to help combat the rampant theft and vandalism. 4, that between the 2018-2019 and 2021-2022 financial years, 1,782 cases of burglary have taken place at schools in our province. 5, that the maintenance budget provided to schools is a mere 36 rand per learner per annum, which is woefully insufficient to cover the damages caused, let alone other maintenance priorities of schools in our province. 6, that recent oversight visits at schools across the province have revealed that the impact of ongoing vandalism and theft has had a serious impact on the learning environment of learners in our province. 7, that the learners' human rights to water and dignity are being trampled on because of the department's inaction to address the damages caused. It is cheaper, 8, to prevent vandalism and burglaries at school than to repair and replace damaged or stolen infrastructure. Madam Speaker, further notes that the Western Cape Provincial Government has piloted a school holiday security program providing on-site security for at-risk quintile 1, 2, and 3 schools. That last year, at least 417 schools in the Western Cape benefited from this program, and that a school in the Eastern Cape with around 700 learners gets a maintenance budget of just 23,800 Rand a year, compared to a school with the same number of learners in the Western Cape, which receives a maintenance budget of 268,800 Rand per annum. That this House resolves, 1, that the Eastern Cape Department of Education launches an EPWP program which will empower schools to employ night watchmen at schools that are high risk of being burgled or vandalized. 2, that the Eastern Cape Department of Education pilots a holiday security program for quintile 1, 2, and 3 schools that will provide security for these high-risk schools. 3, that the Department of Education meet with the Provincial Commissioner of Police, Lieutenant General Nomteteleli Mene, to put together a program of action to combat vandalism and theft at school, and that this program be presented to the Portfolio Committee of Education within 30 days. And 4, that the Department of Education work with the Department of Community Safety to develop programs that empower communities to play a more proactive role in keeping their schools safe. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Kasim. Honorable members, we note the notice of motion, and the motion will then be debated at a later stage in accordance with Rule 133.1. Honorable Zibula.
Honorable Speaker, I move a motion without notice in terms of Rule 130 of the Standing Rules of the Eastern Cape Provincial Legislature that the House note, 1, the EFF in the Nelson Mandela Bay has advocated for the provision of basic service to Bayland informal settlement, and that the Council has made available a budget for the electrification of 1,000 households of the Bayland informal settlement. 2, the adoption of the motion for electrification of Bayland informal settlement has been made possible through the lobbying of EFF, of other political parties, where a motion that was brought by EFF to accelerate the provision of electricity to the new informal settlement of Bayland was passed by the majority. 3, this follows on the footsteps of EFF Johannesburg region and other regions that tabled motions on electrification and upgrading of informal settlement, and that was adopted by their councils. It is the program of EFF to ensure that the formalization and upgrading of informal settlement is undertaken by government. The provision of land and basic services, which is electricity, water, and sanitation, is the responsibility of the caring government. The resolution of the land question in South Africa is the most important resolution needed for the emancipation of all South Africans and the ushering in of economic freedom in this lifetime. The commitment in the preamble of the Constitution of South Africa that says South Africa belongs to all who live in it is an empty gesture when the majority are without land and property. From its inception, the Economic Freedom Fighters has identified its strategic mission as the attainment of economic freedom in our lifetime, and identified 7 cardinal pillars necessary for the attainment of this strategic mission. The first of these cardinal pillars is expropriation of land without compensation for equal redistribution and use. Therefore, the House resolves that the Eastern Cape Provincial Government must accelerate the provision of service plots to the beneficiaries who need land and build houses for them. To identify unused land and the land that is not used to the maximum capacity, and give the land to the poor, black, previously disadvantaged communities. 3, to prioritize provision of basic services like water, electricity, and sanitation to informal settlement in rural areas. 4, to get rid of bucket system and formalize informal settlement by provision of the basic services. 5, to stop evicting poor people who erect informal settlement due to desperation for getting a cover over their head. 6, to put a moratorium on the eviction of farm workers and farm dwellers with an intention of introducing a legislation to outlaw this practice. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Zibula. Honorable Members, I put the motion without notice for adoption. Not agreed. Thank you. We will then go over to member statements, Honorable Kasim and Honorable Kotoy in that order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the MEC for Education in the Eastern Cape, MEC Fundile Gade, has misled this House and the people of the Eastern Cape. Last year, I tabled a motion calling for the Department of Education to provide drug testing kits to schools battling with substance abuse and substance use disorder amongst its learners. Madam Speaker, during the debate of the motion in August of 2022 last year, the MEC shot the pleas made down by contending that the motion is moot, as, according to him, the department already provides these kits. Madam Speaker, you will note that the ANC subsequently voted against the motion last year, and that the claims made by the MEC has proved to be untrue. On the 7th of November of 2022 last year, in answers to written questions tabled by myself to the MEC of Education, Fundile Gade, he then claimed that schools must make use of the educational consumable budgets that are provided to schools in their paper budgets to buy these kits. He also claimed that his department would provide kits to 50 schools listed before the 25th of November last year, and that these would have already have been delivered if they were not by some indeterminable delay. Madam Speaker, during oversights done by me and my colleagues to these 50 schools that were listed by the MEC, I can confirm that the following schools listed by the MEC did not receive any kits for many, many years: David Livingston Senior Secondary School, Forbes Grant, Kuyasa Senior Secondary School, ZK Matthews, St. Thomas in the northern areas as well, Bishu High School, Madam Speaker. And these were only the schools that we checked. So 100% of the schools that we checked have not received any of these kits. Madam Speaker, the MEC must come clean on when these schools or any schools in the province will receive kits, if ever, and that the main issue is that 50 schools listed represent less than 1% of the schools in our province, and that the educational consumable budgets provided to schools equate to as little as 16 Rand 74 per learner for the year, which is obviously not enough to purchase consumables like cleaning material or printing paper, let alone drug testing kits. Madam Speaker, our schools are being hung out to dry, unable to deal with the rising incidence of substance abuse and substance use disorder, and the MEC is leaving them out to dry without any action being taken in this respect.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. One of the serious challenges that the Department of Transport faces relates to the fact that the roads and the infrastructure have been damaged by recent floods. Some bridges were swept away. This poses a serious threat to the provincial economy, and there is thus a need to address this urgently. It has been indicated that the province has called the national government to deploy the army in order to help and restore infrastructure as part of urgent measures. Given the urgency of the situation, has the national government provided the date and the month on which the army will be deployed to help fix infrastructure and the bridges? Surely that cannot be so difficult, given the speed with which the army was deployed in response to the EFF national shutdown in the 20th of March 2023. The deployment of the army is 100% justified in this case, as opposed to a situation where people were just exercising their constitutional right to assemble. The EFF would like to be informed about the exact time frame when the army will be deployed to the province. This is also against the background that if the vehicle owner are made to pay for their vehicle to be roadworthy, surely the road itself must be worthy of driving in the first place. Otherwise, the drivers could be justified to argue that it is a scam for them to be expected to pay for roadworthy certificates when the road itself is not conducive to driving. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Member. Honorable Premier, you have got 10 minutes to respond.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and good morning to all honorable members. Surely MEC Gade will tackle that one of misleading the other grouping of this House.
Just voice.
And I was just saying, Honorable Speaker, Honorable MEC Gade will deal with that part that alleges that he has misled the few in this House. And also Honorable MEC Ngata will deal with the aspect of roads. I'm not sure about roads and march and all that, how they come together into one pot. But I think he has followed that. What is important is to deal with the critical issue of the roads, of the wetness and all that. I think we're dealing with that and solving on the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Premier. Over to MEC Gade and then MEC Ngata. Between the two of you, you have 9 minutes to share.
Yes, Honorable Speaker, good morning to you. Good morning to the Premier, Executive and the House, the people of the province in the gallery. Honorable Speaker, when this discussion was flowing in the House sometime last year and the proposal was presented in the context of the drug test in schools, one member must understand first and foremost that this is a Department of Education, not a health center. The proposal seeks to integrate the school health programs in institutions of learning. Let's start there. And we then said, we have already have a program which we are working on and of course delivering in 50 schools via the collaboration we have with the Department of Health, and that is there. I am not so sure whether the visit of the House was looking into this assignment, but my understanding in the report of the House presented from the school visit does not have that report, unless I can be schooled otherwise. We are still maintaining, Honorable Speaker, that we, via the SSS, because that function is located within that chief directorship in the sector, in the department, we have already done what was at that stage a question, and we are, of course, rolling out a plan, because part of the challenge you have in the sector general are the social ills that are a bit a constraint in the core mandate of the sector, which we have a responsibility to deal with, not in isolation from the broader challenges that the community and the general society is confronted with. And hence we have a plan in place, but I can assure you, Honorable Speaker, that of course it's misleading, and probably would have to go back and see whether that have not been addressed via the committee and also have not been addressed in the context of the report that we have presented here. Thanks, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, MEC Gade. MEC Ngata.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Premier,
members of the Executive Council, honorable members of the House, distinguished guests, DSG and HODs, other senior managers, good morning. Honorable Speaker, the issue of access to services and is quite critical for our government, such that the President launched what we refer to as Welisizwe program. And the soldiers are already in the province way before the 20th, because how critical we view the importance of our people to be able to access health facilities and education facilities. And work is underway on the ground. And I don't think it's worth that much to comment whether a self-respecting democratic government should not react appropriately when people in a democratic country call for a regime change. Because only a government can only be changed through the ballot in a democratic country. And those during a Human Rights Month decide to violate other people's rights, and they think that they can do as they wish, well, it's unfortunate. It's something that a democratically elected government cannot allow. And we remain focused on ensuring that the soldiers are working together with Department of Transport and Department of Public Works to ensure that those bridges are completed. And thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much, Honourable Member. We therefore call the Secretary to read the first order of the day.
Tabling of Budget Vote 1, Office of the Premier.
Honourable members, before I call the Premier, please be advised that each and every member of the Executive have been allocated only 20 minutes to table their policy and budget speeches. We have given an advice for them how to ensure that they keep within the timeline. It is impossible to read the whole booklet within the 20 minutes. And even I tried my own policy speech, and it was almost an hour to do that. So now we are calling the Honourable Premier to table the policy and budget speech of the province of the Eastern Cape. Over to you, Honourable Premier. Your 20 minutes starts now.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Good morning to Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable members of the Executive Council, Honorable members of the Provincial Legislature, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. Also in our midst, Honorable Speaker, I know probably will do that later, but I thought let me do it quickly to acknowledge the newly appointed Executive Mayor of Buffalo City, who is also in our midst today. Greetings to the First Lady of the city where we are. Honorable Speaker, we have developed a comprehensive policy statement which has been distributed to the members of the House, but due to the limited time allocated to us, as you have indicated, I will just present the summarized version. We come before this august House today to give an account about our performance in 2022 and what we will be doing this year to accelerate the advancement of our people's interest. It is very significant, Honorable Speaker, that we do our account in a month that is dedicated to celebrate human rights in our country, because the work that we do is also about ensuring that the people of Eastern Cape enjoy better life as enshrined in the Bill of Rights. This is the last policy statement for the 6th administration. Therefore, we are not presenting new plans, but rather we will outline areas of emphasis in wrapping up our work in the remaining months of the term. Honorable Speaker, in the recent budget speech presented by MEC Mvoko, the Office of the Premier has been allocated a total budget of 941,463,000. Program 1 is allocated 177 million. Program 2 allocated 145.5 million. Program 3, 328.9 million. Program 4, 484.2 million. The OTP in 2023 will use these resources to provide the center of government leadership and monitoring in 16 delivery facilitation areas, which are about consolidation for qualitative outcomes. Honorable Speaker, on the investment promotion, a key focus of this administration has been to improve economic trajectory to create jobs for our people. We take this pride in the fact that through the efforts led by the Office of the Premier, we attracted investment with combined value of 46 billion to the provincial economy. The operationalization of this investment has already translated to more than 1,000 jobs in our province. We insist that this is a story of good progress, as we have seen also from our third quarter labor survey report, that the province has enjoyed the 3 consecutive decline in high unemployment. In the remaining months of the term, we will upscale our collaborative efforts with the global partners, national departments, SOEs to attract more investments to our province. Our pursuit of new investment take us to UAE, Ghana, Egypt, and Tunisia, where we will cement economic ties and conclude agreements that will facilitate more investments to the provincial economy. Of course, we've got invitation to also other continents, Asia, particularly the Asian countries, as well as Europe and the US. We have already addressed the business in US through the webinars and all that to really mobilize them to come to our shores. Honorable Speaker, the Office of the Premier is paying undivided attention to 6 catalytic projects that are set to change our economic landscape. As you all know, these projects include N2 Wild Coast Highway, Umzimvubu Water Project, Eastern Cape Transnet Initiative, N2 Nodal Development, Undersea Cables, and Wild Coast SZ, as well as the LNG that is now really taking shape down there, which is likely also to create more than 20,000 jobs for us. These projects are at various stages of implementation across the province. The Office of the Premier will continue with the implementation of the Small Town Revitalization Program in 2022. A total of 12 municipalities will be supported, which include Uzahil, Ndlambe, Port St. John's, Umzimvubu, Great Kai, Mnuma, Ntabankulu, Koukama, Engcobo, King Sabata, Dalindyebo, Mpashe, and Enoch Mgijima. The OTP will continue with the rollout of the broadband connectivity. More than 900 sites are already connected towards the 2024 targets of 2,700 sites being connected. The government infrastructure program will be monitored by the Office of the Premier through the direct reporting to the Executive Council. We are establishing a multidisciplinary social facilitation team at a provincial level to support social facilitation processes at a local government level where these projects are implemented. On youth development, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, it is important to highlight that our investment attraction drive is aimed at reducing unemployment in our province, which affects men, women, and youth of our province in particular. As the 6th administration, we heightened focus on youth development in an unprecedented fashion, focusing on job creation, skills development, building an entrepreneurial mindset amongst the youth. We aim to increase job creation across the economic value chain, SETAs, and the public employment programs. I must add that we are also going to use the remaining months of this term to pursue coherence guided by the provincial job creation strategy. The demand for Isikalo Youth Fund has necessitated us to invest more resources to the programs. Hence, the 100 million has been actually availed over the MTF to finance youth-owned businesses. Education is a foundation for skills development. As a caring government, we are again lending a helping hand by providing 50 million to our 4 universities to assist students with their debts. However, a more sustainable model to support students, especially for the missing middle-income household, remains a critical issue for consideration. On crime reduction, honorable members, honorable Speaker, all of us agree that crime needs more sharp focus to ensure that our people are safe in their homes and in their communities. I can share with the House that conviction rate for femicide is 96%. For intimate partner, femicide is also at 92%. For sexual offenses, is 83%. I can also confirm that SABS in the province recovered 701 firearms which were reported as stolen, lost, or illegal firearms. The police also made arrests in the high-profile murders cases that happened in Hogsback, as we all know, BG and elsewhere. Also, I want to take the opportunity to congratulate SABS on a swift reaction yesterday in Dabankulu during the broad daylight, where people were killed, about 2 people were killed there in town, and police arrested those alleged culprits immediately. So we really appreciate that. Also confiscated the AK-47 and other firearms in that space. The Office of the Premier will ensure that province meets the obligation set in the National Strategic Plan in gender-based violence and femicide through ensuring promotion of justice, safety, protection, prevention, and rebuilding social cohesion. OTP will facilitate initiatives of local local gender-based violence and femicide command councils and establishment of 2 Tutuzela centers in Jokabe and Sarabatman, over and above Tutuzela centers that we are already having. Honorable Speaker, the state is not immune to crime which comes in the form of corruption and fraud. The Office of the Premier will facilitate the implementation of Program of Action for the Eastern Cape Provincial Cross-Sectoral Anti-Corruption Forum to ensure synchronized efforts of the anti-corruption agencies in the fight against fraud and corruption. The lifestyle audits will be cascaded to local government as all spheres must be cleaned from the dark mark of corruption. Honorable Speaker, we believe that Office of the Premier is doing a great job in providing meaningful support to departments. We enter this year with a highlight of improved audit outcomes in the provincial departments. It's clean audit outcomes, as we all know, in the PFMA, and 14 actually, 7 in department and 7 from our entities. This is a historic achievement in our province. Here next to me, Honorable Speaker, as I will be sitting down, I will really, through you, request Honorable Deputy Speaker to come and receive the award that we did give to the legislature on their clean audit, and also appreciating their recovery from the decline they experienced. So when we're doing all our awards this year, the performance awards, the legislature also was a beneficiary. We also take pride in improvement in the implementation of Education Turnaround Plan, which has culminated in the improved performance in the National Senior Certificate that recorded a 77% pass rate. In the implementation of the Health Turnaround Plan, we have also seen significant improvements. In the past 3 years, Office of the Premier had been a partner towards reduction of the medical legal. To that effect, there is a marked improvement in controlling these unsustainable cash outflows in the health sector. We will continue to coordinate the successful defense of medical legal cases, the digitization of systems for improved records management and strengthening of specialized litigations, unity for medical legal cases and claims are some of our strategies to mitigate medical legal claims. Honorable Speaker, contrary to the popular belief that we all hear out there, it is not all doom and gloom in the local government. In the SOPA, we highlighted the improvement of audit outcomes in 50% of municipalities to unqualified and 4 clean audits. This was due to the continuous implementation of Operation Clean Audit Program. The 4 municipalities that achieved clean audits were recipient of the Batupili Service Excellence Award, as the legislature is to encourage and motivate the workforce to maintain the standard. We believe more municipalities will break into the clean audit space in the coming financial years. The local government also recorded a decrease in irregular expenditure from 3 billion in 2022-2021 financial year to 1.4 billion in 2021 to 2022 financial year. Having said that, we acknowledge that some of our municipalities are faced with the challenges of service delivery and underspending on infrastructure grants. We have already started the efforts to accelerate the support to local government, which includes the risk-adjusted approach to conditional grant spending aimed at improving service delivery across water provision, electricity, roads, infrastructure, as well as their disaster responsiveness. Honorable Speaker, we are a disaster-prone province, as seen in the latest flooding in Port St. John's and other parts of Bizana, Kolobeni, etc. Through the intergovernmental relations capability in the OTP, we will ensure all hands on deck towards coherent disaster management and response. We welcome President today is visiting Port St. John's as part of his monitoring to ensure that government respond adequately to issues of disasters. We hold a strong view, Honourable Speaker, that our work must be informed by reliable data and we must always be empirical when we are doing our work. That also must always come from the scientific research. The OTP will coordinate a research agenda in the following policy areas: youth development, small businesses development, performance management systems in municipalities, community health care, early childhood development, agricultural development, oceans economy, water and sanitation, and rural school infrastructure. Honourable Speaker, veterans work to support other designated groups, in particular women, military veterans, and work with the disability will be heightened. The Office of the Premier will develop and implement a skill development strategy for military veterans, review and update a military veterans database. Our conscious decisions to achieve 50% employment equity will be heightened in the remaining months of the term. We aim to also achieve 7% employment equity for people with disability and 20% for employees below the age of 35 as part of creating a younger cadre of public servants. All these initiatives are critical policy imperatives to transform our society. On procurement, Honourable Speaker, we are taking further steps to affirm the designated groups economically by increasing our procurement budget spend on the businesses. We're now saying 40% of the OTP procurement spend must go to women, 30% must go to youth, 7% to people with disability, and 60% to Eastern Cape-based businesses, especially micro, small, medium enterprises. To achieve these targets, we will ensure timely procurement planning and budgeting. We will customize procurement policies and integrate with other stakeholders to plan, implement, and monitor preferential procurement policies. Honourable Speaker, to improve government performance, we constantly improve the skills of our greatest asset, the public servants. Leadership development programs will continue to be rolled out with strategic partners within and outside government to leverage on potential.
5 minutes remaining, Honourable Premier.
Honourable Speaker?
You have 5 minutes remaining.
Oh, okay. No, I'm getting there.
Yeah, I can see that
Yes,
it will be a first.
Honourable Speaker, thank you very much. I hope that you would just delay your time a bit. Speaker, with regards to support to traditional leaders institution, we are developing a standard operating procedure to guide the determined finalization of disputes, claims, and recognition of our leaders, but also to deal with the issue of the local houses that has been a nerve issue that has been raised by the House all the time. Honourable Speaker, for the provincial government to be coordinated properly, we need a matured OTP institution. That means the structure must be fully capacitated and the right skilled workforce will instill some agility in the implementation of annual recruitment plans. We'll also implement organizational change, culture, strategy, etc. In conclusion, Honourable Speaker, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, is the last policy statement for the 6th administration. This means we must redouble our effort to implement our programs with some agility and precision. We have been in this business for more than 4 years now. We know the ins and outs of our environment and how to navigate it. We commit to push extra hard so that we meet here next year and we can demonstrate concretely how we have transformed the lives of our people in our province. I now table this policy speech, Honourable Speaker, as well as the annual performance plan, and if you allow me, invite Deputy Speaker to quickly come and fetch. But also I want to use this platform to extend a sincere word of condolences to the family of Mr. Mazosiwe, Sam Mazosiwe, who was once a member of this House and also an MEC. We all know that that sad news of his departure. To all people, friends and family, we extend our sincere condolences. Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. If the Deputy Speaker can come, with 3 minutes left, thank you so much.
The policy speech and the table documents stand referred to the Portfolio Committee responsible for the subject matter of the vote in terms of Rule 161(2). Yes, yes. Thank you, DS. Thank you, Honorable Premier. I will ask the Secretary to read the second order of the day.
Tabling of budget vote 7, cooperative governance and traditional affairs.
I call upon the acting member of the executive for Kokta, MEC Ngata, to table the 23-24 policy speech. Your 20 minutes starts now, acting MEC.
Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Honorable Chief Whip, Honorable Premier, Honorable MECs, members of the Legislature, the Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Madiwane, and the permanent delegates to the NCOP, esteemed kings, queens, and traditional leaders, Chairperson of the House, and Deputy Chairperson, and members of the Executive of the House, the Chairperson of SALGA, Executive Mayors, congratulations to the newly Executive Mayor of Buffalo City Metro, mayors, representatives, and of various councils present here, leaders of faith-based organization, DG, HODs, senior managers, members of the media, distinguished guests. First, let me take this opportunity to recognize members of the public who are following the proceedings via various broadcast platforms such as television, radio, and social media. The presentation of the 2023-2024 budget vote constitutes an act of advancing the people's interests. It is my honor and privilege on behalf of the MEC of Kokta, Honorable Williams, to table the 2023-2024 policy speech. MEC Williams is in Port St. John's together with the President and the Premier, I think, will be joining, and the Minister of Kokta, to attend to the last week's floods and the ravaged the East Coast towns of our province. This budget is seminal in that it is the last budget of the sixth administration. Permits me to take this opportunity to pay tribute to the late King Zanozuko Emambondweni Asekabugeni and traditional leaders, councillors and staff members who have passed on during the past year. We undertake, to honor their memories by intensifying the struggle to improve service delivery for which they dedicated their lives. It is important to provide a political context on an ongoing basis, for each and every phenomena or event is punctuated by a particular political context. With that said, Madam Speaker, the year 2023 marks the end of the sixth administration, which coincides with 111th anniversary of the oldest liberation movements in the continent, the African National Congress. It marks the 30 years of the commemoration of the death of O.R. Tambo, the longest-serving president of the ANC, who passed away on the 20th of April 1993. And his death came 14 days after Chris Hani's assassination. Simultaneously, this year marks 10 years of the commemoration of the passing away of the late Nelson Mandela, the global icon and the world-acclaimed symbol of resistance against apartheid, who passed away on the 5th of December. Imbued with this memory, we need joint efforts to drive the agenda we adopted at the beginning of the term. Our long-term vision is encapsulated in the NDP Vision 2020, which was adopted in 2012. At the beginning of the term, our government adopted the MTSEF, which outlined strategic intent in implementing the electoral mandate of the ruling party as well as the NDP Vision 2030. We must take stock of the journey we have traversed and roll up our sleeves for a decisive drive to full implementation of the agenda we adopted. If we borrow from the greatest African poet and philosopher, Henry David Thoreau, I quote, "All endeavor calls for ability to tramp the last mile and shape the last plan, endure the last hour's toil. The fight to the finished spirit is one characteristic we must possess if we are to face the future as finishers." Close quote. Our midterm assessment shows that we mastered and where we fell short on the target we set in 2019. We are proud of our accomplishments and conscious of what still needs to be done. In the words of this poet, this year we endeavor to tramp the last mile and shape the last plan. 2023 calls for the finished spirit if we are to face the future as a great finishers. Madam Speaker, when we adopted the NDP in 2012, we acknowledged that something had to change in a manner and approach of doing things. In our own admission, we said that our trajectory at the time was never going to help us to eliminate poverty and inadequate at the rate we wanted to. According to the NDP 2030, I quote, drawing on our collective successes and failures as a nation, we need to do more to improve our future. On the present trajectory, South Africa will not achieve the objectives of eliminating poverty and reducing inequality. So there is an urgent need for faster progress, more action, and better implementation. The future belongs to all of us. It's up to us to make it work. The year 2023 affords us an opportunity to shape the last plan and endure the last hours of toil in order to realize what we plan to achieve during the sixth administration. One of the cornerstones towards achieving NDP Vision 2020 is a capable developmental state. The NDP requires collaboration between all sections of society and effective leadership. In a society with deep social and economic features, neither social nor economic transformation is possible without a capable and developmental state. And therefore, the attainment of the developmental state will remain a pipe dream as long as women are burdened with poverty and are victims of GBV, gender-based violence and femicide, which remains a pandemic that we must fight with all resources at our disposal. Madam Speaker, we remain committed to achieving the targets we set at the provincial program of action as our contribution to the achievement of our targets. Our focus in supporting municipalities is a commitment that we want to achieve as a province. Madam Speaker, when it became clear on the issue of professional, ethical, and stable administration, when it became clear that the Cuban Revolution had triumphed in 1962, Ernesto Che Guevara observed, I quote, the lack of bureaucrats, cadres with requisite skills to transform the state apparatus. The economy posed a challenge. The apparatus functioned in its old, slow, lifeless, broken way, disdaining the new political changes which came about. Bureaucratic inertia characterized the new administration. A perspective leadership was required. We designed a curriculum that sought to instill and inculcate the following values. A cadre who had achieved adequate political development to be able to interpret the directives emanating from the central power, which had made them his or conveyed them as orientation to the masses. Individuals of ideological and administrative discipline, individual capable of self-analyzing and imbued with the spirit of self-service to the people. An individual with creative intellect, a technician with good administrative acumen, by reasoning dialectically, can advance his sector of production. An exemplary human being cloaked in difficult to achieve virtues in the Cuban society. But above all, a common dominator we sought was administrators imbued with political clarity. With this said, Honorable Speaker, the success of a democratic state depends on the cadre of the public, on the caliber of the public service. That is the mold of the Cuban public service in 1962. The success of the developmental state will depend on the public service that is able to deliver the goals of the department. The department has obtained an unqualified audit opinion with no matters of emphasis in successive years now. This depicts a stable, well-oriented organization that is capable of delivering its mandate. We will not drop the ball, but focus more on those areas we still have not mastered. And there is nothing wrong to clap for the clean audits for 2 consecutive years. Intergovernmental relations and the developmental district development model. Madam Speaker, the Constitution of the Republic established a state that supports interactions and cooperative between 3 spheres of government on a continuous basis and provides a set of principles to direct the manner and quality of those interactions. In fulfilling this constitutional imperative, 2022-2023 financial year, the Executive Council of the Eastern Cape invokes Section 35 of the IGR framework of 2005 to improve participation of organs of state in service delivery. We will enhance our support to the functionality of the provincial IGR system as the department, putting people first to address their interests. The involvement of communities in government is a cornerstone of democracy. The department does not view community participation as an end in itself, but rather as a crux of a people-centered approach to development. In this context, communities should not be viewed as passive participants, but as active agents for change. On customary mail initiation, Honorable Speaker, during the last customary mail initiation season, this province was able to enroll a total of 31,791 initiates, and regrettably 22 initiates lost their lives, and of which 10 were illegal initiates, most of them which occurred in the area of OR Tambo. I would like to appeal to our communities to work together with us in preventing illegal practices and the use of unqualified traditional sergeants and illegal initiation schools. This is to ensure that our children, baya bephila, babuye bephila. We would like to send our message of condolences to all the families who lost their loved ones and commit to do all our power to have better initiation season that will bring hope and joy to our people. On the implementation of the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act, the promulgation of this act was a defining moment in the process of reconfiguration of the institution of traditional leaders to restore its dignity. For the first time, there was a proper recognition of the traditional leaders' status of Khoi and San communities, and a commission was established to consider the traditional leadership claims. And this process will accelerate in this financial year. On good governance, Honorable Speaker, each municipal election, post each municipal elections, the mood is always characterized by high expectations and power jostling among political parties. Our primary goal was to conduct an induction session for incoming councillors to ensure that the oversight role is played effectively. We further supported municipalities in reviewing their rules of order to ensure smooth running of councils. We have developed 2 training manuals, namely Core Councillor Training Manual for municipal portfolios and e-manual on HR plans and so on. We have identified a gap in the accountability system in local government, and for this reason, we'll focus on strengthening capacity in the performance management system in line with the new local government. Honorable Speaker, on capacity building, we have committed to conduct continuous assessment through verification of municipal councils and their committees throughout the year, so as to identify weaknesses that require support and capacity building. We will focus on strengthening the oversight functions of councils and their committees by exposing councillors to capacity building programs. On financial management, for municipalities to deliver on their responsibilities and perform their functions, they need money. According to the Auditor General's report, local government finances continue to be under severe pressure due to non-payment by municipal debtors, poor budgeting practices, and ineffective financial management. Almost half of the municipalities show financial strain, including low debt recovery, inability to pay creditors, and operating deficits. We are hard at work to assist municipalities to face this elephant in the room. In 2022-2023, We trained municipal public accounts committees, MPAC, and the following municipalities were beneficiaries, among them OR
Honourable
Tambo,
Member, you
Alfred
have
Nzo,
5 minutes remaining.
and Joe Gavin. All right. The non-negotiable in relation to service delivery. Having realized and recognized the challenges many government programs like Sienza Manje and Project Consolidate, and our orientation to change the face of the province is the implementation of the non-negotiable as pronounced by the Premier of the province. With those, we are forging ahead in this period, Honorable Speaker. And to conclude, Madam Speaker, the budget I present here seeks to strengthen the functioning of municipalities and traditional institutions. The mandate of the 55th Conference of the ANC is clear that we must make municipalities work for our people. We must make this clarion call to all councillors and traditional leaders that our people deserve more, and theirs is to listen to them, work with them, and be their servants. We cannot say it better than Charlotte Maxeke when she said, I quote, "This work is not for yourselves. Kill that spirit of self. Do not live above the people, but live with them. If you can rise, bring someone with you," close quote. At this epoch, the development of our nation and our people deserve leaders who are fit for the purpose. With your indulgence, Madam Speaker, permit me to table the 2023-2024 budget, the APP, and the operational plan for 2023-2024 to this esteemed House. And thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much, Acting MEC of Kokta, MEC Ngata. The policy speech and the table document stands referred to the Portfolio Committee responsible for the subject matter of the vote in terms of Rule 161, subsection 2. I now ask the Secretary to read the third order of the day.
Tabling of budget vote 11, human settlements.
I call upon the member of the Executive Council, Honorable Mani Lusiti, responsible for the Department of Human Settlement, to present the 23-24 policy speech in terms of Rule 202, subsection 3. Your 20 minutes starts now, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Greetings to yourself, the Honorable Premier, the members of the Provincial Legislature. Greetings to the DG and all the HODs present, all our partners and organs in development that are here, particularly the MMCs of human settlement from our district municipalities, our organization, HDA, Inkosi Zezwe Lakowethu. Somlomo wendlu mthetho, liwonga elikhulu kumaphambi kwalendlu bekekileyo, kunye nabemi baseMpuma Kapa, ukuba ndothule ivoti yohlahlo lwabiwo-mali yesebe lokuhlaliswa nokuzinziswa loluntu eMpuma Kapa yonyaka mali u-2023-24. The budget vote for the Eastern Cape Department of Human Settlement outlines not only our collective vision, which is to bring dignity and improve the quality of household life, but concrete plans towards the systematic establishment of sustainable integrated settlements in the province. I must indicate that the prevailing period is characterized by deep-seated challenges of unemployment, inequality, and poverty. It then follows the need for decent shelter and social infrastructure is on the rise. This means we must prioritize the implementation of programs which will yield the greatest impact towards the attainment of Vision 2030. It is therefore important that while we review the progress made in 2022-23, we put all efforts into ensuring that we achieve the MTSF and the PMTSF targets. His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, on behalf of the collective leadership, has declared 2023 a year of decisive action to advance the interests of our people. In addition, the Honorable Premier made an appeal to all of us to roll up our sleeves and make 2023 truly a year of decisive action, and that we must work together more than we have ever done before to rewrite the history of our province, from a history of hopelessness to a future of prosperity. Umamuno Matile Tabashe, who benefited from the Dimbaza 27 housing project for visually impaired in the Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality, said when she received her title deed, "Urhulumente," I quote, "Urhulumente undenzele ikhaya nabantwana bam. Besele ndincamile ngenxa yokukhubazeka kwam. Akukho mntu unofika andigrogrise andikhuphe ngoba ndinaso isiqinisekiso. Nansi i-title deed yam." In the same vein, led by our Premier, I will narrate a story of good progress on the work we are doing in executing the priorities of the department, which include the provisioning of housing opportunities, prioritizing the destitute, vulnerable groups and military veterans, the systematic unblocking of historically blocked projects, the acceleration of registration and issuance of title deeds, increase in empowerment opportunities for our SMMEs, including women and young people, upgrading of informal settlement and provisioning of social and economic amenities, progressive adoption of innovative and sustainable building technologies, enhanced partnerships and collaborations with social partners, and the improvement of functionality of the department for improved service delivery outcomes. Before I expand on how government is performing in delivering in these priorities, allow me to first provide a brief picture of the human settlement landscape and policy considerations within the sector. And subsequently, I will share key service delivery highlights of the 2022-23 financial year, and lastly, the departmental commitments for 2023-24 financial year. Honorable Speaker, since 1994, the ANC-led government has delivered subsidized housing to more than 3 million poor households, and this has been one of the most notable quantitative success of South Africa's developmental goals. However, despite this substantial investment, the demand for housing closer to economic opportunities continue to be the main challenge facing our country. As a province, we are attending to issues of historical underdevelopment in rural areas, and we must also have the necessary foresight to plan for the rapid urbanization and the demand for urban settlements. In the past 2 decades, the housing program has undergone policy revisions which have seen a transition from the building of houses to creating sustainable communities and sustainable urban forms. This illustrates that the human settlement program is not just housing or shelter, but human settlement. It must be integrated to its socio-economic context. These policy shifts have primarily been informed by a recognition that housing can play a meaningful role in improving the broader socio-economic participation of the people. Indeed, the shift from houses to human settlements primarily acknowledges that settlements should serve a broader purpose to foster integration of people into inclusive economy and society, rather than mainly being about the construction of more housing units. By extension, this means we need to do more as government and as communities in ensuring that land use is informed by the local and district integrated spatial plans. Here, I wish to reiterate the concern by our Premier about the emerging land use practices where human settlements are mushrooming in the peri-urban areas, which restrict the development and expansion of our towns and cities. This area will need close collaboration between government, traditional leaders, and communities. The department is working closely with government institutions to align programs such as small town revitalization, office parks, surplus land and property holdings available to permit infill development and urban renewal. It is our commitment to take forward these ideals with a conceptual clarity on the delivery of sustainable integrated human settlements. The establishment of a sustainable integrated human settlements that responds to the challenges confronting the people now needs to strategically cater for the low-income and middle-income earners through social housing. The social housing program plays a critical role in changing not only the landscape of our communities, but in community integration. I would like to take this opportunity, honorable members, to report on progress against the priorities pronounced to this august House in March 2022. In the current financial year, the department has developed 3,400 service sites with 3,266 in rural areas and 134 in urban areas. Furthermore, the department has 4,585 completions to shelter destitute households with over 7,000 housing units in various stages to reach the target of the current financial year, as well as the MTSF targets. This intervention is currently benefiting approximately 5,338 households comprising of the elderly, women, people living with disabilities, our young people, and military veterans. Honorable Speaker, in this financial year, we have rectified 531 units through our remedial works program in line with the 10% HSDG grant allocation. In the current financial year, 73 beneficiaries were assisted through the individual housing subsidy program. We continue to engage municipalities and create awareness for the public to access this subsidy program. Climate change is a reality and a global phenomenon, posing an imminent threat to the lives of our people living in rural areas and informal settlements. This requires a sustainable, integrated approach in dealing with disasters, which is more targeted. In April 2022, KwaZulu-Natal, Northwest, and the Eastern Cape were hit by excessive floods never seen before, damaging infrastructure and leaving scores of our people homeless and some with partially damaged houses, resulting in the President, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, declaring the state of the national disaster. The Afenzo and OR Tambo regions were most affected, leaving 1,259 households homeless. In bringing relief to the affected households, the department has provided temporary shelters to more than 1,000 families in the two regions. In February 2023, our province once again experienced heavy rains where more than 3,000 households were left destitute. I'm pleased to inform the people of the Eastern Cape that the 227 households in Silverton informal settlement Ekomani have been relocated away from the flood line and provided with temporary shelters with the view of providing a permanent solution once all planning activities have been concluded. Honorable Speaker, we welcome the policy amendment to the finance-linked individual subsidy program that has now been delinked and renamed First Home Finance Scheme. Through this program, the department has assisted 251 qualifying beneficiaries in purchasing their first homes. This program is aimed at assisting first-time home buyers earning between 3,501 Rand and 22,000 per month. It is hoped that the changes will attract a greater constituency of the middle class and a wider spread across the province. Honorable Speaker, the department has unblocked 34 projects against the 87 blocked projects in the various parts of the province, which will be implemented over the multi-years in Alfred Nzo Amatole Krisani, Buffalo City Metropolitan Municipality, the Nelson Mandela Bay, and Sarah Batman. The department is currently busy with the planning processes to prepare the state of readiness for the project implementation. Out of the 34 unblocked projects, the department anticipates yielding 524 units in the next financial year. In Alex Mavuso project in the Raymond Mhlaba local municipality, the project has been unblocked through the decisive intervention of the department by providing bulk infrastructure. We are pleased to report that now the contractor is on site constructing 300 units. The Maladini project in Mhlondo local municipality is close to completion as a result of unblocking blocked projects. Honorable members, the issuing of title deeds is one of the department priorities that it implements concurrently with municipalities. The appointment of the panel of 28 conveyancers in various local municipalities has made it possible to resolve some of the administrative blockages, and gradual progress will be made by the end of the MTSF period. In the period under review, we have managed to register 2,677 title deeds. We are encouraged by the contribution we are making in capacitating designated groups, especially youth with technical skills and experience through various interventions. In this period, 84 SMMEs have been trained through the National Home Builders Registration Council on sustainable business enterprises. 20 were provided with work opportunities through the 30% subcontracting, and 21 young people are currently enrolled for Artisans Development Program through apprentice and learnership. In 2022-23, 5,847 job opportunities have been created through our EPWP compliant projects. We have, through our Youth Brigade program, created 186 empowerment opportunities for our young people, and of which 82 of them are males and 104 are females in Amatole and Buffalo City Metro. The department has enrolled 112 learners who are enrolled with the technical and vocational education and training colleges in the province. 45 of them are males, 67 are females, placed in Alfonso, Amatole, Krisani, and Sarah Bachman. Our internship program has contracted 47 young people for a period of 24 months in collaboration with the Office of the Premier and the Construction, Education and Training Authority. Honorable members, 115 informal settlements are currently being upgraded, and all are between phase 2 and 3, with the provisioning of the much-needed basic interim services. Leading in progress are Raymond Klaba Local Municipality in Amatole, Ndlambe and Kocha Local Municipality in Sarah Bachman, in which 4,927 households are now receiving basic services. The last stage of the upgrading of informal settlement is phase 3, which includes the permanent infrastructure for the water supply and reticulation across each settlement, the drilling of boreholes, installation of water tanks, paving of roads, and permanent sanitation infrastructure. All the 115 informal settlements are now fully contracted with professional teams, contractors, and SMMEs. Honorable members, the Rental Housing Tribunal is assisting the people of the province who are in the rental market through dispute resolution between landlords and tenants. The program runs an awareness program for municipalities and the public to understand its responsibilities and how it accesses. Indeed, there's a good progress in protecting the rights of our people through this intervention of government, which provides our communities with access to free legal services. We want to acknowledge the great efforts put in by the member of the Rental Housing Tribunal who are present here today. In the year under review, the department has resolved 253 rental dispute cases. In 2023-24 financial year, we will continue to implement the broad policy priorities of the sector as set out in the 6th term of administration. Our target, as articulated in our Human Settlements Development Grant Business Plan, includes the delivery of 7,638 low-cost housing units, 320 units through the First Home Finance Scheme, 38 individual subsidies, 5,350 service sites in all our regions. The department will utilize the 10% of its HSDG budget to rectify, under the remedial work program, 832 units in Buffalo City, Krisani, Nelson Mandela, OR Tambo, and Sarah Bachman. Honorable members, the last Minimec Forum considered changes to the quantum that will accommodate the installation of rooftop solar panels, burglar roofs for vulnerable households, and water and sanitation systems that respond to water shortages. This will ensure that we respond to the call of the President to promote alternative power solutions and respond to climate change to protect the most vulnerable in our communities.
Honourable
Our
Member, you have
catalytic
5
projects,
minutes remaining.
The department will continue, thank you, Honourable Speaker, supporting the development of the 6 catalytic projects in our 2 metros. We have engaged vigorously with the Department of Military Veterans with the view of attending to all the bottlenecks and accelerating the delivery of housing to military veterans. In the 2023-24 financial year, 230 units for military veterans will be delivered. We continue to work with the Social Housing Regulatory Authority to ensure that there's an increased rental stock pipeline within the areas of high demand in the province. 53 blocked projects will be unblocked throughout the province, and these are projects that were blocked for various reasons across the province. Honourable members, we want to acknowledge the slow progress in the issuance of title deeds. We are putting measures in place to improve the turnaround time for registration. In the 2023 financial year, the department will register 7,747 title deeds. We are embarking on an advocacy campaign to accelerate the resolution of the challenges and the delivery of title deeds through our program of restoring people's dignity through home ownership, one title deed, one beneficiary. This will entail a broad community mobilization, engagement with municipalities, and the promotion of community radio stations. Honorable Speaker, the department commits to 80 SMME contractors through training. The department will ensure that 40% of Human Settlements Developmental Grant, Upgrading Informal Settlement Partnership Grant budget is allocated to designated group, in particular young people and women. Honorable Speaker, the mandate of sustainable integrated human settlements requires a shift in both policy and in action. The Honorable Premier has given directive to the Department of Rural Development and Agrarian Reform, and the Department of Social Development to collaborate through integration of services in human settlements projects. This will facilitate bringing a basket of government services to communities to realize the goals of provisioning of shelter, food security, and poverty alleviation. We will continue to engage all our stakeholders to partner with the department in this regard. One of the key challenges facing our developers and contractors is access to funding and mechanisms to ensure the sustainability of human settlements delivery. The department is engaging government entities mandated to support SMMEs in the private sector to ensure that we assist our contractors to fast-track the implementation and the completion of our projects. The human settlements development process exposes the need of transformation within the materials supply sector. We will be considering the best approach to unlock the transformation of the material supply value chain through a benchmarking exercise and developing a clear, achievable strategy. We are currently in the process of conducting the organizational functional assessment, which will assist in improving the functionality and the capacity of the department to deliver its services. It gives me pleasure to announce the department is on a positive trajectory as interventions to turn around the departmental performance were processed and are yielding spin-offs, some of which will be seen in the coming financial year. Capacity at supply chain management has been reinforced, especially in speeding up evaluation processes. This will enable the department to yield the desired number of units and rebuild a pipeline of projects for future implementation. As I conclude, honorable members, I wish to call upon all of us to play our part as individuals, South Africans, business, civil society, students and academics and citizens. Let us embrace the spirit of citizens' activism in line with the injunction of the new consensus to march towards equality and prosperity for all where no one is left behind. Honorable members, I now table the budget and the policy speech, the annual performance plan and the annual operation plan of the Eastern Cape Department of Human Settlements for 2023 financial year. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. The policy speech and the table documents stand referred to the Portfolio Committee responsible for the subject matter of the vote in terms of Rule 161, subsection 2. I now call the Secretary to read the fourth order of the day.
Tabling of budget vote number 9, Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism.
Honorable MEC. MEC, the member of the Executive Council, MEC Mvoko, responsible for the Department of Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism, to present his 23-24 policy speech in terms of Rule 202, subsection 3. Honorable MEC, your 20 minutes starts now. You seem like we have jumped this on you, MEC.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Blame the Chief Whip.
Greetings to you, the Deputy Speaker, members of the Executive Council, honorable members of the Provincial Legislature, the DG, all HODs, and CEOs of public entities, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We can all agree that the incumbent administration operated in rather a unique environment as the government was forced to use its resources responding to numerous economic blows, including the COVID-19 pandemic, electricity crisis, recurring disasters, and labor unrest. Consequently, the Eastern Cape province continued to be plagued with high unemployment rate, high levels of inequality and underdevelopment. And over the 2023 medium-term expenditure framework, focus will be on coordination and implementation of key economic projects to stimulate economic growth and development in the province. In this year's budget and policy considerations, we made a concerted effort to redirect funds to enhance the assistance to SMMEs, set aside funding for economic development projects, investment, and our recovery plan. In the spirit of collaboration, we want to encourage the private sector to come on board so we can leverage resources in projects where there are common goals. In the most interesting circumstances, we are not only starting a new financial year, but beginning an end of the last year of the democratic mandate of the sixth administration. There will therefore be an increased demand for quality service and support to stakeholders. With a budget of only 2 billion rand for 23-24 financial year, we shall execute our strategies and plans to satisfy the needs of our people, rallied by economic and environmental imperatives in the Eastern Cape. Madam Speaker, the department will continue with the implementation of its high-impact projects that is started in 2023. All these projects have long-term returns. Considerable work has been done to kickstart the implementation. In this regard, the Small Towns, Township and Rural Entrepreneurship Program was launched through the Eastern Cape Development Corporation with a full rollout scheduled for the 2023-24 financial year. The STREP is aimed at supporting local enterprising efforts and improving participation in the economy by black operators. A progressive intervention of legacies of the past are to be addressed. We welcome this program and work is underway to finalize the strategic framework and legislative processes for Eastern Cape Township and Rural Economy Policy and legislation during the same financial year. The programs will be informed by the objective realities in these areas, with the strategic framework taking into consideration the needs of the stakeholders who will be affected by such program. The construction of the informal trade and trade infrastructure at Amaxesibeni presents us with a story of good progress. To date, 12.3 million rand of the 23.4 million rand budgeted for this program has been spent. The project is expected to benefit 180 informal traders and 6 MSMEs while creating 35 jobs. The infrastructure includes formal stores, semi-formal trading spaces, etc., etc. We have also collaborated, we're looking at replicating this program throughout the province. We, honorable members, we also collaborated with Coca-Cola Beverages South Africa to support youth in the retail sector. The pilot program saw a young man in the Chris Hani region receiving a fully furnished mobile kitchen with opening stock. We also plan to roll this program out across the province. To make impact in the township and rural economy, we'll be collaborating with district municipalities and metros to host micro, small, and medium enterprise summits in preparation for the provincial and national summits in 2024. On the revitalization of state-owned entities, state-owned industrial parks, government has invested over 500 million in this project and has attracted 10 confirmed investors and 21 potential investors, totaling over 2.4 billion rand. This is a good story of progress, and it demonstrates the potential these industrial parks have in developing our economy. To ensure that the industrial parks are integrated into our provincial economy, the department is committed to providing support for the development of master plans. These master plans will guide the development and growth of the industrial parks, and we will work closely with our stakeholders to ensure their successful implementation. Work is underway at the Wild Coast Industrial Park, which is envisaged to be a special economic zone in Tata. The fencing is 100% complete, and the project has benefited 12 SMEs and created a lot of jobs. The next phase is the implementation of bulk infrastructure, which includes sanitation, water, electricity, and the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition has invested 49.5 million rand for the installation of bulk infrastructure. We are delighted at the developments around our objectives of operationalizing the Wild Coast as a special economic zone. We have now accumulated sufficient investment commitments, and the RIP application for SEZ designation status has been submitted to the DIC, and we are confident of a positive outcome. The investment commitments for the Wild Coast have increased from 1.2 billion rand to 1.7 billion rand. On climate change, Honorable Speaker, efforts are underway to implement climate change support programs to curtail resultant effects of intense droughts, water scarcity, severe fires, rising sea levels, flooding, catastrophic storms, and declining biodiversity. There's been an outcry from the municipalities for assistance on awareness, mitigation, and leading the climate change effort across the province. So in the 23-24 financial year, our aim is to roll out these related programs. A climate change program, electronic motor vehicle program, retrofitting of government buildings, mainstream climate change into the provincial economic development strategy, review of the provincial air quality management plan, and develop a quality assurance or quality control program for air monitoring. The floods that occurred recently in Komani, Port St. John's, Coffee Bay, and other regions of the province have highlighted our vulnerability on multiple fronts, environmentally, economically, physically, and socially, as they caused a significant damage. The last year we announced that we're going to launch the climate change program. This work has started, and currently a situation assessment is being conducted to identify the most vulnerable communities and what constitute their vulnerability. The use of this tool has garnered support in facilitating the alignment of spatial planning processes in gazetted Eastern Cape seaboard region. On business support initiatives, honorable members, the province has established the Eastern Cape Economic Development Fund to support the business. Our observation are that while government is implementing various programs to stimulate economic development and job creation, there remain gaps in the optimization of the various efforts, and these gaps call for a recall and a directed approach in resource allocation, coordination, and reprioritization of government investment in economic development. What we have long realized is that partnerships with the private sector are key for sustainable job creation, and that public sector investment in critical economic infrastructure is a bedrock for economic development. It's for this reason that the fund that was established as a vehicle for, amongst others, resource mobilization and leveraging to enable access to national and international development resources, to private sector partnerships that are directed at stimulating, protecting, and sustaining economic activity in high potential industrial value change. Thirdly, investment in strategic economic infrastructure necessary for supporting industry cluster development. And lastly, enterprise finance and support directed at driving inclusive growth through access to finance and business support by MSMEs. So the ECDC, as the implementing agent, shall thus work with both the public and the private sector, including government departments, national and provincial public entities, local government, industry players, etc., to kickstart this fund, we've set aside 100 million rand for this fund through Eastern Cape Development Corporation. Other support mechanism within the group will continue to be provided. As we know, the department will continue with the local regional economic development fund to support MSMEs. We've seen more than 200 million has been disbursed to successful business enterprises in the previous financial year. For 2023, we've set aside another 14.6 million rand to continue with the fund. We've also set aside an amount of 30 million rand for 2023-24. We've we've set aside an amount of 30 million rand for 2023 for loan financing at the Eastern Cape Development Corporation. And I'm pleased to report that the department has been actively supporting cooperatives or cooperative enterprises through partnership with organizations such as German Cooperative and Raiffeisen Confederation, CEDA, ECDC, Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environmental Affairs, etc., etc. We plan to establish a municipality-wide cooperative bank as a pilot to, in collaboration with the Cooperative Bank Development Agency, to address challenges such as lack of training and capacity in the cooperative sector. The Imbaba Fund at ECDC has over the past 3 years supported 83 cooperatives across the province. The total financial plan injection to the cooperatives amounted to 43 million. In the incoming financial year, we are targeting 25 co-ops to receive financial support from the Invaba Fund, and an amount of 25.4 million rand has been set aside for this purpose. We will further support 200 SMMEs with non-financial support, such as business training, development of plans and marketing in this financial year. The Eastern Cape manufacturing sector, which is mainly driven by the automotive sector, is one of the progressive sectors of our economy. We will therefore provide financial support to AIDC to enable them to establish a minimum of 13 electric vehicle charging stations across our province, in line with global evolution of the industry from fuel to electrical. These will enable electric vehicle movement and consumption in the Eastern Cape, and this network will immediately link with the ever-growing number of electric charging stations countrywide. In the State of the Province address and the budget speech, I've already spoken to the establishment of an auto sector aftermarket program that will benefit 300 panel beaters and mechanics in our province. This is a program that will be driven by AIDC at the value of 3 million rand. We will also continue to support businesses in distress through various initiatives, including the Manufacturer Support Center and Job Stimulus Fund. And we have budgeted 36 million rand for the year coming. I'm also pleased to announce the operationalization of the Provincial Invest South Africa one-stop shop located at the Eastern Cape Development Corporation. This facility will facilitate investment in the province, and we are currently engaging with the DTIC for its official launch. Honorable members, the past 3 years have seen the East London IDZ attracting investment of 2 billion rand, mainly in the automotive sector. At the beginning of this term, the reported turnover of enterprises in the East London IDZ was sitting at 891 million rand. And the last 3 years have seen this grow to 3.5 billion rand. And this for us is testament to the growing economic output of zone industries. The East London IDZ has in the past few months also built and operationalized 2 investment facilities that will add to the economic output of this province. These investments, including Draeger Safety, Zenith, and Bushveld Electrolyte, have invested 535 million rand in the plant and equipment. Despite the global domestic challenges that are potential barriers to investment, the East London IDZ in 2023-24 financial year targets to attract 5 new investment projects to the value of 500 million rand. The strategic priority in the East London IDZ's automotive sector growth plan is the localization of additional components in the planned manufacturing incubator, which will play a key role in the following 5-year cycle. Honorable members, KUGA achieved a double-digit number of investors signed, from 5 in 2021 to 13 in 2021-2022, with a corresponding investment value pledged of 557 million rand. We welcome the successful implementation of the first phase of the aquaculture development zone at CDC. the province approved 206 million rand over the 2021 MTF through the Provincial Economic Stimulus Fund to develop enabling infrastructure such as roads, electrical and potable and stormwater infrastructure. The infrastructure creates an investment ready for platform for aquaculture investors. Now that the bulk infrastructure has been laid, we are mobilizing resources towards the investment attraction. We will work closely, CDC will work closely with the Nelson Mandela Metro to implement the water and sewer infrastructure project that has been funded to the tune of 1.8 billion rand through the budget facility for infrastructure. Honorable Speaker, we are beginning to reap the fruits of our investment to the film industry. The investments we have made so far were aimed at positioning the Eastern Cape province with its breathtaking film locations as a preferred destination for hosting local, national and international film productions. For 2023-24, an amount of 28 million rand has been set aside to fund the film industry. Honorable Speaker, we place tourism development at the heart of our investment in the economy of the Eastern Cape.
Honorable MEC, you have 2 minutes remaining.
Not 5.
No. I thought you were well on par. Now I can see.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. The DTIT's Economic Stimulus Fund currently supports 12 infrastructure projects, of which 5 are more than 50% complete. In 2023-24, ECPTA will continue to support route development initiatives such as Umzila Kabawo on the Wild Coast and the Craft Pier route, which covers 700 kilometers. For 2023-24, we are putting aside 23.7 million rand as a department in partnership with local municipalities to create jobs on environmental sector projects, mainly through expanded public works projects of waste management and alien plant eradication. Honorable members, to manage coastal areas, we raise the concern in our risk in our provincial estuary environments. These are zones of life and therefore deserve special protection. The department has joined hands with other law enforcement agencies in order to combine resources and efforts to enable the sub-program to respond to unlawful activities, environmental crimes, which is improving capacity for biodiversity compliance and enforcement. In 2023-24, the department will focus on improved monitoring of cycad and succulent populations to prevent smuggling of these endangered species from our province. There will be appointment and training of honorary nature conservation officers in partnership with Rhodes University Thicket Research Unit to monitor and act on unlawful removal of indigenous plants. Honorable Speaker, in our budget allocation, we will ensure that funds are allocated to key service delivery areas aligned to our mandate, priorities and goals. Accordingly, the budget allocations are as follows: administration 229 million, economic development and tourism 1.4 billion, environmental affairs 353 billion. I hereby table the annual performance plans of the department and our 3C entities, the corporate plans of our 3D enterprise and the annual operation plans of the department. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much, MEC. The policy speech and all tabled documents and referred to the portfolio committee responsible for the subject matter of the vote in terms of Rule 161, subsection 2. I now call upon the Speaker to read the fifth order, the Secretary to read the fifth order of the day.
Tabling of vote number 12, finance and provincial expenditure.
I call upon the MEC responsible for Department of Finance and Provincial Expenditure. I hope you've had time to take a sip of water, MEC. If not, get your bottle.
The 20 minutes will start before I do.
No, you can go there. I will wait for you to do that and to take your sip. Yes. Your 20 minutes starts now.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. It is in the interest of the country and that of the Eastern Cape that we become efficient and effective in the utilization of the public funds. The fiscal environment we are operating under leaves no room for wastefulness and or imprudence. As Provincial Treasury, we, however, remain resolute in carrying out our mandate of providing a strategic and technical leadership in the allocation, management, and utilization of the financial resources for socio-economic development in the province. This mandate is an important cog of our service delivery imperatives. Our plans for 2023-24 set out how the Provincial Treasury intends to implement the priorities it set out in the 2020 to 2025 strategic plan towards realizing that goal. Our 2020 to 2025 strategic focus is embedded on the following key strategic priorities: fiscal consolidation, supply chain management reforms, infrastructure support, and lastly, provincial and municipal governance and accountability. Honourable members, the sluggish economic performance and low economic growth forecast for the country requires the department to institute measures that promote fiscal sustainability in the province. This path has enabled the province a fiscal space to fund its priorities, although within limits. The fiscal consolidation strategy will continue to focus on budget expenditure ceilings, managing the wage bill, implementing cost containment measures, and enhancing provincial revenue. Cost containment measures continue to form the basis of our fiscal consolidation strategy to stabilize provincial finances, especially during this period of constrained economic activity. These cost containment measures are implemented through prioritization of funds for key service delivery areas rather than on non-core items, whilst also improving governance and oversight in the province. The introduction of the zero-based budgeting and expenditure reviews further help align spending with strategic outcomes and service delivery priorities and eliminate inefficiencies on expenditure while strengthening allocative efficacy. We'll continue to monitor the wage bill spending ceilings through various measures, including ensuring that personnel appointments are authorized centrally on PESAL in line with the provincial coordinating monitoring team approvals. There has been a steady progress in the generation of revenue in the province, although a lot still needs to be done to reach our potential. We are in this regard providing needed support to departments that are driving our strategy to enhance and increase provincial revenue. Our support involves supporting these departments with revenue generation implementation plans through fora engagement such as CFO forum meetings, ad hoc meetings, and engagement with institutions such as the road accident funds. The study we instituted on revenue enhancement projected that the province can collect up to 7 billion rand annually by 2030. The Department of Public Works and Infrastructure will lead this journey because of the lease income from properties that are awarded to the private sector investors and property developers. Further to this, the leasing space on state-owned properties in respect of telecommunication sites and the installation of billboards and digital screens have resulted in the increase. The province must also find innovative ways of collecting the revenue through the departments of health and transport. These departments are encouraged to use electronic systems to process revenue. The resolution on the recapitalization of the Eastern Cape Development Corporation has reached finality as both the shareholder department and board approved a new business strategy for ECTC. Subsequently, there has been reasonable funding that has been channeled to ECTC based on their plans. We will monitor the implementation of the newly established ECDC, Economic Development Fund that will be spearheaded by ECDC from this year as announced in the budget speech. We are awaiting final submission for the application of the Eastern Cape Rural Development Agency to be listed as a 3D in the PFMA. The Department of Sports, Recreation, Arts and Culture has reported to us that the resourcing of ECPEC within the department is forging ahead. The two projects, ECRTA and ECPEC, are also going to be included in the GTEC work for the finalization of the rationalization project, including the amalgamation of the Liquor Board and the Gambling Board into one regulatory entity. Honorable Speaker, medical legal claims continue to pose a liquidity risk to our fiscus. The collaborative efforts between Provincial Treasury, Health and the Office of the Premier is, however, doing all in its power to undo that fiscal risk through implementation of the turnaround strategy. As this collective, we took time to analyze 24 court judgments, and we were able to obtain valuable information on where the system needs to improve. In trying to address the weaknesses identified from that review, the team has been working on the drafting of guidelines for standard operating procedures for the following areas: the incident management process, legal response process, long-term patient treatment process, and medical legal claims payment process. These SOPs will also tie up into the digital health management system, which is called HMS. It's a project on itself. This project, the HMS2, is a software designed to handle electronic medical records, laboratory tests, and their results, and radiology images of patients. The team has also done an inventory check of documents on the HMS2 as part of e-liability checkup. A project plan has been developed on the digitalization of patient records to enable easy manipulation of data for trend analysis. We have assisted the department on digitalizing a number of facilities: Cecilia Makiwane, Nelson Mandela Academic Hospital, Mthatha Regional Hospital, Bedford Hospital, Franchia Hospital, etc., etc. Madam Speaker, the recent promulgation of the Preferential Procurement Regulations of 2022, which have become effective on 16 January 2023, required departments to determine their own specific goals for preferential procurement that is aimed largely at supporting designated groups. These include women, youth, people with disabilities, and military veterans. In line with the confines of the local economic development procurement framework, the provincial government will increase the support to these groups with a special focus on youth to ensure that 30% of the procurement spend is targeted to be spent on youth-owned enterprises. And to improve procurement efficiencies, we will continue to identify a number of opportunities for transversal contracting, capacitation of suppliers on opportunities available to enable SMMEs to do business with government, including administrative support and registration on central database and locus. We will continue to persuade the two departments, health and education, to ensure that when we start with these transversal contracts, they would come to the fore in ensuring that local becomes our province. We will intensify our efforts in monitoring the implementation of the procurement plans to eradicate delays in service delivery. We are also keeping a close eye into our database to deal with potential conflict of interest in instances where government employees attempt to do business with the state. When these cases are detected, we escalate them to their respective departments for consequence management. We report monthly to the Premier on who is doing business with the state or potential within the departments. And after reporting to EXCO, we then write to each HOD, to department, to ensure that there is something that they are doing to discourage this, or those that were found to have been able to get something from procurement are charged. We do that frequently. Honorable members, we continue to provide support to infrastructure delivery in the province in line with the provincial infrastructure strategy. We're giving support and providing it to departments to institutionalize IDMS and implement the delivery infrastructure delivery management system and implement the framework for infrastructure delivery and procurement management. We're working together with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure as a coordinator of infrastructure projects. Provincial Treasury will continue to conduct hands-on training on the IDMS for infrastructure departments in respect of the IDMS bidding requirements. Training of infrastructure departments and their implementing agents on the framework for infrastructure procurement and delivery management will continue with the intention to improve the infrastructure coordination across the province. This is a project in an attempt to ensure that departments spend on their infrastructure budgets. On accountability, municipal governance and accountability, we will continue with the implementation of the financial management accountability framework to institutionalize discipline in the management of public resources and ensure that departments and entities move towards sustainable financial maturity. The results of 2021-22 audit shows considerable improvement as the province managed to obtain 22 unqualified audit outcomes and 3 qualified audit opinions in the PFMA. The immediate goal is for the 3 departments, health, education, and transport, to attain unqualified audit opinions while improving the ones that have findings on the unqualified. We will not rest until these departments improve on their audit outcomes. There are systems in place to address the root causes of the findings and internal control deficiencies. Accounting officers and governance structures must continue to implement audit improvement plans. I heard an honorable member saying that they are waiting for audit improvement plans of departments and not being submitted to the legislature. The plan is to make all the CFOs of the departments with clean audits as part of the Provincial Audit Steering Committee, where they can offer independent opinion to Treasury and the departments. We await the finalization of the audit outcomes on municipalities for 21-22 with keen interest, considering areas of improvement that were attained in the previous financial year. And when it comes to municipalities, ongoing financial management support is being provided to provincial departments and municipalities on including the M-SCORE implementation in municipalities. Provincial Treasury will support municipalities. We have to support municipalities and align to district development model and municipal integrated developments. We are currently engaging with the National Treasury on the issued template, which is the municipal annual financial statement specimen that has been issued to accommodate the M-SCORE regulations. This will assist us to roll out in the province before the template is compulsory for the implementation by municipalities. We've commenced with monitoring triggers for financial problems in the municipalities that lead to the development of the financial recovery plans that focus on financial management, governance, human resources, and service delivery. Of the 36 municipalities, 29 municipal budgets were assessed to be funded. This is equivalent to 80%, which is an improvement. Various interventions ranging from appointment of municipal managers and chief financial officers, early procurement, proper monitoring of procurement plans, district infrastructure forum, adherence to approved grant deadlines to capacity buildings are in place. With the following budget allocations that will drive our programs are listed in the speech. I'm not going to go through them. We commit to use these resources economically to finance the commitments we have outlined above. We commit to use the resources efficient and effective to finance the commitments we have outlined above. As I take off my ramp, I must, for reasons of provoking our class consciousness for this particular purpose, bring to the fore the citation from a journal by Peter G. Stillman, done in 1983. It is titled Scarcity, Sufficiency, and Abundance, Hegel and Marx on Material Needs and Satisfactions. He argues, Hegel and Marx see scarcity as inherent, necessary, and constructive in the good societies each envisions. They see that human beings develop themselves and their culture by having needs, working to satisfy those needs, and in the process, creating new needs that require new types of thought and action for their satisfaction. At the same time, since all needs cannot be pursued, human beings must reflect on which needs to try to satisfy. This reflection leads Hegel and Marx think to concern not with the material and atomistic, but with cultural and societal needs and their satisfaction. I consider it safe to take my detour, and I wish to take this opportunity and thank the Portfolio Committee on Finance for guidance, fellow MECs for their support, HOD, Mr. Machek and his capable team for the sterling work they continue to do in the performance of our mandate, and I wish to appreciate the support we receive from our stakeholders and the members of the public. Through that support, we strive to be a responsive government. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. The policy speech and all the tabled documents stand referred to the Portfolio Committee, responsible for the subject matter of the vote in terms of Rule 161(2). I will now ask the Secretary to read the sixth order of the day.
Tabling of budget vote number 3, health.
I call upon the member of the Executive Council, MEC Meth, for the Department of Health to present her 23-24 policy speech. Your 20 minutes, Honorable MEC, starts now.
Honorable Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Honorable Premier, inkosi zakokwethu, ndivumela ndithi ngqanga neentsiba zayo. Molweni, good afternoon. Honorable Speaker, it gives me great honor to reflect on the imperatives we committed to in the 2022-23 financial year and submit the annual performance plan 23-24 that captures the policy and budget path for the Eastern Cape Department of Health in the year ahead. Eastern Cape Department of Health's line of march for the year 23-24 is the year of decisive action to advance the people's health interests, renewed, ready, and capable. Our priorities for the year are preventive, promotive, curative, and rehabilitative healthcare services, good governance and clean administration, financial viability, integrated medical legal strategy, service delivered optimization, digitalization and e-health, human resource for health infrastructure development and maintenance. The total budget allocation for 23-24 financial year is 28 billion, 100 million rand. The department will continue to rebuild and lay the foundation for a health system that is resilient and responsive to the health and care needs of the communities we serve. We are working hard to ensure that by 2026, our health sector offers a digitally enabled, data-driven, and re-engineered services platform under the NHI. Honorable Speaker, the NHI bill is anticipated to be passed in the National Parliament by the end of March 23, whilst the National Department of Health focuses on the structural frameworks for NHI. The focus of the Eastern Cape Department of Health remains on facility and service readiness to implement NHI by 2026. The department has contracted a total of 3,823 CHWs, resulting in a CHW population coverage of 56%. slightly up from 53% of the previous year. Their efforts assisted us in finding those lost to follow up during COVID-19 so that our clients could recommence treatment. They also encouraged clients to stick to their treatment plans, explaining the benefits of being on treatment. The department has 80 health promotion officers appointed across our 8 districts. This is only 34% of the need because, ideally, we need 1 health promotion officer per ward. We'll be looking to expand this cadre within the available resource envelopes. Some of the highlights of this cadre in the past year includes 70 awareness campaigns, 30 dialogues, health education talks done through 18 radio stations, 16 functional physical groups for elderly and children, commemoration of the World No Tobacco Day in Sarabachman. Through such activities, we are raising awareness, improving knowledge. In doing so, we are arming individuals, families, and communities so that they can make informed choices and hopefully change behavior to promote good quality health and reduce premature deaths. By focusing on prevention and health promotion, we will reduce costs of individuals, employers, families, insurance companies, medical facilities, communities, the state, and the nation. We will also spend less on medical treatment. There are 184 professional nurses appointed to the integrated school health services teams. During 22-23 financial year, thank you so much for that round of applause, we addressed issues of severe acute malnutrition, early child development and behavioral change programs, targeting teenage girls and boys, YOLO, CHOMI, and Boys Champions for Change in schools. Through the Mansana school bus, we covered 3 districts, OR Tambo, Joe Gabi, Sarabachman. The bus provided the full packages of services, namely ear, nose, throat, dentistry, and ophthalmic services, using the primary health care nurses to attend to the learners holistically. The department is pooling the specialists to provide coverage and technical support to all districts with staffing gaps. In addition, specialists from tertiary hospitals have been charged with the responsibility of clinical governance for their referral zone and work collaboratively with DCSTs to support the peripheral facilities. The department will be focusing on appointing family physicians in the identified priority sites and institutionalizing clinical governance in the year ahead. During 22-23 financial year, in OR Tambo district, we appointed 39 medical officers who regularly visited 77 clinics. There are 8 social workers contracted through the NHI grant, and they provide coverage to the whole of the OR Tambo district. Afrenzo, thank you. Afrenzo has been allocated a budget amount of 25 million rand for contracting of health professionals for the year ahead. The benefits of contracting these health professionals has been the decrease in the number of clients referred to hospitals to access these services. The cost of health care for our patients was reduced before they didn't have to travel long distance. Because they didn't have to travel long distances to access services provided by these health professionals. There are about 183 PHC facilities and 5 hospitals that maintain their ideal status. 46 facilities have been issued accreditation certificates by Office of Health Standards Compliance in 2022-2023. The average infrastructure accreditation score has increased from 51% to 62%, the human resource score from 54% to 67%, medicine supplies and laboratory services score improved from 65% to 83%. We procured essential surgical supplies needed to provide emergency services in the primary healthcare facilities and to strengthen our performance in the ideal clinics non-negotiable standards. In the year ahead, 23 billion and 18 million rand has been allocated to provide and improve quality of health services in the primary healthcare facilities and hospitals. Honorable members, infrastructure revitalization is the backbone of NHI and remains a critical measure of our progress. In the past 6 years, a total of 5,600,000,000 rand has been invested in infrastructure improvements across the province. For 23-24 financial year, a total budget of 1,600,000,000 rand has been allocated to infrastructure, with 218 million rand decentralized to districts for maintenance. Honorable members, for the year ahead, the department will prioritize building maintenance. The department has allocated budget of 4,869,000,000 rand over the 23-24 MTF for the new infrastructure development and maintenance. For infrastructure projects, including maintenance, the department has allocated the following budgets to the 8 districts: 159 million rand for Adventzo, just under 200 million rand for OR Tambo, 102 million rand for Joe Kabi. In Krisani, an amount of 162 million rand has been allocated, 190 million rand in Amatole district. In BCM, 348 million rand. Sarah Bachman, 905 million rand. And Nelson Mandela, 166 million rand. The full version of the policy speech breaks down which facilities shall be renovated, upgraded, or maintained. We are addressing historical structural inequities and improving access to quality health care by expanding health services to the eastern part of our province. Due to the constraints of time, I will leave the achievements in the Alfrenzo district, one of our original NHI pilot regions, and also an area that suffered from great inequity during the apartheid system. The department has upgraded, renovated, repaired, and refurbished 3 district facilities over the 10 last years. We have brought to practical completion 2 mega projects and 1 large project in the current year. Sipetu District Hospital is a newly upgraded 100-bedded district facility, a mega project in Tabankulu sub-district. Government has invested around 650 million rand in the state-of-the-art modern Sipetu Hospital, with much-needed staff accommodation to attract healthcare professionals to this beautiful but remote rural area. Together with the investment in the latest technology and vital medical equipment, this facility is well positioned for accreditation as the department ramps up for NHI. The Sipetu Hospital project has created employment and directed funding to SMMEs to the value of around 125,000 and 128,500,000. This represents about 33.5% of the actual construction value project to our locals. Arising like a phoenix out of the ashes of COVID-19 devastation, the hospital brings hope to the surrounding community and ushers in an era of renewal and rebuilding the Eastern Cape health system post-COVID. Husong TB Hospital is the only specialized facility in Afrenzo. The mega project in Matatiel sub-district involved the upgrade of Husong and building staff accommodation. The new facility is currently in use. 515 million rand was spent on this project. An amount of 169 million rand was spent on major CHC phase 1 and 2. This project was upgraded from a primary healthcare facility into a CHC. Honorable Speaker, indeed, it is irrefutable that this is a story of good progress. The department has commenced a program to address the infrastructure backlog and create a habitable environment in all facilities in the Eastern Cape. Though we shall not abandon construction of new facilities, our main focus in 23-24 will be on maintenance and upgrade of existing buildings. More than 40% of our infrastructure budget is allocated to maintenance over the MTF. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to announce that the department was awarded an incentive grant of 78 million rand by National Treasury as a recognition of compliance to the conditions of health facilities revitalization grant. For infrastructure, I thought we were going to give applause on that one because it's a budget that we did not have, but because of good performance, we got that money. Thank you so much.
For infrastructure projects, including maintenance, the department has allocated the following budget to 8 districts. 159 million rand to Afrenzo. And I think that one I did explain in terms of the breakdown to all the districts. So we are focusing in districts in the spirit of the DTM. The department was successful in its application for funding from PEPFAR. The department was recently awarded $400,000 US, equivalent to 7.2 million, by PEPFAR for the year ahead. We are appointing 40 pharmacy assistants to improve medicine availability and decant chronic stable patients to pick-up points closer to where people live. The budget allocation for HMS2 is 120 million rand over the MTF. Already in 21-22 and 22-23 financial year, less than 500 million is anticipated to be paid out instead of the 2 billion rand that we had thought we would spend during this period of 2 years. Specialized machinery and equipment to the value of 4 million rand has been procured for rehabilitation services with 578,825 rand being utilized for equipment. The recent 7 February 2023 landmark judgment of the Bishop High Court gives us glimmer of hope, as Judge Griffiths ruled to make it common law that reparation for medical negligence claims can be expanded beyond once and for all lump sum, as we used to do, to also include that services and supplies can be provided by the Department of Health. The department has allocated 5,150,000 rand to build the capacity of the medical unit. We are very pleased to report that the department achieved a significant reduction in maternal mortality rates in the third quarter of 22-23, 85% per 100,000 live births, compared to around 157 deaths per 100,000 live births during COVID-19 and around 108 per 100,000 births pre-COVID-19. To this end, we conducted community-based campaigns to encourage early booking for women before 20 weeks through integrated health education and community engagement. It is for this reason that an amount of 40 million rand is availed for 23-24 financial year to support these interventions. To date, total of 67 million rand, 14,041 rand has been spent on various medical equipment that addresses maternal and child-related challenges. Madam Speaker, in an effort to reduce under 5 child mortality rate, catch-up drives in collaboration with UNICEF were conducted for the immunization, and we have since improved the coverage from 69.3% in the financial year 2020-21 to 83% in 22-23. The department has made progress in child mortality with fewer children dying from diarrhea. The case fatality rate due to diarrhea in children under 5 years decreased from 2.9% in 21-22 to 1% in quarter 3, 22-23. And the number of children under 5 years dying from acute pneumonia decreased from 3% in 21-22 to 2% in quarter 3 of 22-23. This is indeed a story of good progress.
Honorable MEC, you have 5 minutes remaining.
On HIV and AIDS, Honorable Speaker, 22-23 MTF period, we have a budget of 8,600,000,000 rand. For the year ahead, 2,743,000,000 rand of the 2,963,000,000 rand is set aside for comprehensive HIV/AIDS component of the district health programs. On mental health, Madam Speaker, I raised this issue last year, and it is for that reason that I can proudly report that the recommendations of Ombudsman have been implemented in totality. An amount of 19 million rand has been ring-fenced for the mental review boards. An amount of 29 million rand has been spent on the Fort England, a state-of-the-art 14-bedded child and adolescent mental unit in Fort England. The Oranginza Mental Health Unit is also having a 72-hour observation infrastructure plan. Cecilia Makiwane, Tata Mental Unit, and on injuries and trauma. We continue to experience work that is done by our EMS in particular, in helping our hospitals and all the specialized services that we continue to provide. The policy speech details the work that we've did on cataract, on issues of cancer. We have an oncology project that is upcoming very well at a cost of 416 million rand, as we reported last year, and also offering chemotherapy now in the new unit in Sir Henry Elliott in Mthatha. On human resource, Madam Speaker, we are saying we are approving an annual recruitment plan that has been budgeted for about 82% of what is our budget for the year will go to our HR as the department, because we can't do without human resources. On forensic pathology services, there is great performance and progress that we are making, as we had reported last year. We have opened even the long-awaiting Dukra forensic pathology services facility. On mitigating load shedding, Madam Speaker, we are interacting with ESCOM, and we have budgeted 68 million rand for diesel, as compared to the 36 million that we budgeted in the previous year. Honorable Speaker, we are coming here to this August House to present story of good progress that has been made possible by the partners that we are working together. We want to appreciate them and say, because of their support, we begin 2023-2024 financial year renewed, ready, and capable to take decisive action to advance the people's interest in our province. We thank all the partners. Because of time, I may not mention them, but I want to end by saying thank you so much to have reliable partners, and thank also our employees. Thank the management, thank the cabinet and the premier, the legislature and the portfolio committee. Honorable members and Honorable Speaker, I table Eastern Cape Department of Health Budget Allocation, Annual Performance Plan and Operation Plan for 2023-2024. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MEC. The policy speech and the table documents stand referred to the portfolio committee responsible for the subject matter of the vote in terms of Rule 161(2). And you've had your big clap now, MEC, after appealing to everybody for your achievements in the I cited. I will now ask the Secretary to read the seventh order of the day.
Tabling of budget vote number 4, social development.
I call upon the MEC responsible for the Department of Social Development, MEC Fanta, to present her 23-24 policy speech. Your 20 minutes starts now, MEC.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Ndibulise kuwe unkulumbuso yephondo ingekho ko MEC basisigqeba salendlu, amalungu endlu yowisomthetho ahloniphekileyo, inkokheli zendlu yenkosi, imbumbo yamakhosikazi komkhulu, abefundisi bemvaba ngemvaba, inhloko yesebe ikhokhela amagosa onke kwa-social development nenhloko zamasebe zonke ezikhona apha. Indwendwe zethu esiye sazimema, manene nani manenekazi, ndivumelene ndithi nqanga nentsiba zayo. I greet you all in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
The name that is above all names. Honorable Speaker, it is a great honor to stand in this esteemed house and table the budget speech for each Department of Social Development, which serves as both an accounting tool for our work that we have done and that will deliver in the immediate future. As a department, we have tasked with the responsibility to respond to daily social challenges affecting our society, most vulnerable and poor. Their challenges also compels us to deepen our efforts to pursuit of creating an inclusive and caring society. And so to us, this is not a mere routine exercise, but a critical moment where we must review our social contract of giving effect to a developmental state where we transform, reconfigure, and redress to indeed give effect to our creed of building a caring society. Somlomo, as champions of social development, we are committed to delivering on our mandate to realize the goals set in the National Development Plan and a clarion call of not leaving not one behind. Malunga Begekle, I am pleased to announce to the people of the Eastern Cape that its department is on track in terms of achieving the targets that were set out at the beginning of this administration, as per the objectives and targets on Priority 4, consolidating social wage through reliable and quality basic services of the NDP Vision 2030. Somlomo Begekle, to this end, the government has ensured the achievement of the following: psychosocial support services, 241,585 beneficiaries assessed the program Z2. Family preservation programs, at the core of our fight against many social ills in our communities. It is strengthening of families, and as such, 93,881 families members from all the 8 districts participated and benefited in the family preservation programs. Sinenkolelo ke yokuba ukuba siqinise iziseko zamakhaya and build the family unit, izinto ezininzi ezingumkhuba ombizi ngehla elizweni lakwethu. We are also strengthening the fight against gender-based violence and femicide. At the core of the fight is prevention, child protection. 153,208 children in need of care and protection were reported to be placed in foster care with valid foster care orders in all the 8 districts, and 112,894 children were reached through community-based organizations. You remember, as members of parliament, in a court case about Lendia foster care, as Eastern Cape, at least we have placed Alamanan Makulangagaya. Persons with disabilities community-based rehabilitation services were implemented, reaching 71,414 persons, including youth and women. We youth development, interesting in Nagoibaleka, Somlomo Win, Wisomteto, Yokuba, Imo Yokosho, Imbigakul, kwaye ithwaxa ngamandla ulutsha oluyifuture yelizwe lakwethu. Yilondo ke sithe saxhasa abantu abatsha abayi 9,461 with technical and non-technical skills and other relevant training programs, where 511 youth development structures were supported. Sithe Chichilike Somlomo in urging even the private sector to come on board and have skills and have serious skills of development programs across the province, not just skills, but scarce skills to enable young people to earn living and create employment for many other young people of the province. Women development, 24,956 women participated in various empowerment programs of skills development in partnership with various stakeholders. Older persons, about 97 total of older persons, 97,023 older persons benefited in the funded community-based unit. Social relief distress, a total of 46,313 beneficiaries benefited from DSD social relief programs, and 113,794 learners received sanitary pads. On food security, a total of 16,215 people assessed food security through DSD community nutrition and development programs. Somlomo Begekle, I tabled this budget as we are concluding the business of 6th administration. Sibethela kugoduka kwaye sihambela phezulu kunakuqala ukuqiniseka ukuba amaphulo amele ukuphucula ubomi babantu bakuthi ingakumbi abangathathi intweni, poorest of the poor, ayingomaphulo nje abawava ngembali kodwa utshintshe ubomi babo. Manditsho Somlomo wendlu yowisomthetho ukuthi nangona imininzi imisebenzi esizamileyo ukuba siyenze silisebe ukutshintsha ubomi babantu bakuthi isemininzi imicelimingeni esijongene nayo silisebe. As a result, the following priorities and programs will be implemented this financial year. Strengthening the provision of child care and protection services. Somlomo children are exposed to social ills that are becoming more horrible in nature, and this includes child abuse, neglect, and orphans and family disintegration. Kule to sinemali ke siyibekile 835.3 million yoba sijongana nabantwana baba yancedakala. Child poverty and malnutrition. In response to challenges of child malnutrition, this prevalent across the province, and we mobilize more than 10 private sector and non-governmental stakeholders to support strategic intervention. They have made it possible for approximately 450 mothers that are affected by malnutrition. Honorable Speaker, as I said earlier, we are moving from social welfare to sustainable social development. This is why we have moved further to equip these mothers with training in technical skills, sewing, baking, food preparation, and vegetable production to support them to be economically empowered and self-resilient. Inye ke engandilalisi buhlaye ukuba phantse zonke inginga apho esithe sandondelwa kuzo kule ngxaki ye-malnutrition, abantwana nomama abanazo izazisi. Sisebenzisana ke no-Home Affairs no-SASSA ungena umzi nomzi siqobisana le ngxaki. Siyafuna somlomo ukubongoza omama ukuze bayimele ngenyawo into yezazisi khona ukuze abantwana bangavaleleki ngaphandle ekubeni bafumane izibonelelo zikarhulumente. Teenage Pregnancy and Social Behavior Change Program. Somlomo amanani abantwana abathi bakhulelwe besebalula ayaxhalabisa kakhulu and idungadunga ubomi nekamva labantwana bethu. Young people are exposed to self-destruction, unhealthy and risky behaviors, which prevent them from reaching their potential. An amount of 10.5 million has been set aside to support 14 organizations that provide social behavior change programs in communities, targeting 62,477 beneficiaries. Each of these 14 organizations has been compelled by the department to contract and utilize at least 4 unemployed social workers graduates in employment HIV and AIDS program. In this fiscal year, 56,269 people will benefit from psychosocial support services. We will, with our partners, make communities alive to sharing a collective human responsibility for social well-being. An amount of 19.4 million has been set aside for this program. Substance abuse prevention and rehabilitation program. Honorable Speaker, the high rate of drug abuse in Eastern Cape manifests its negative effects on children, youth, families, and communities. In responding to the demand of access to treatment and rehabilitation services, the department will allocate an additional of 3 million for provision of inpatient treatment services, and an additional of 1 million will be allocated to Tembelicha Treatment Center, OR Tam. Eyona nto sigxela kuyo kunciphisa amanani abantu abaxhaphazayo iziyobiso kweli phondo. Siqinisa intsebenziswano with other stakeholders to intensify implementation of provincial drug master plan. NS Treatment Magasi, Gqeberha, will continue supporting it with an amount of 13.596 million is budgeted for funding NPOs that are assisting in that sphere. Social Crime Prevention Program. Malunga Begekle NPO in partnership with National Institute for Crime Prevention and Rehabilitation ex-offenders. The department will provide therapeutic and vocational skills training to children who are in conflict with the law and awaiting trials and sentence in secure care centers. Through this initiative, a total of 466 children in conflict with the law will acquire skills to compete in the open labor market upon release as other alternative for survival. The budget for this program that we have set aside is 2.9 million. Strengthening prevention and early intervention programs on gender-based violence femicide. Our Khuseleka One-Stop Center, which is best in the country, will continue providing forensic social work services as part of criminal justice involvement, working with National Prosecuting Agency and Amapolisa. These services will include ability to testify, assessment, victim empowerment, etc. Pius Bege Malenga 185.6 million for that. A total of 161 organizations rendering prevention and victim empowerment support will be funded in 37.2 million. In the interest of effective fighting GBV, the department will develop a mobile app to promote, assist, and affected communities members as part of improving access to departmental services. Ngoba ukuhlunyezwa akuna xesha akunabusuku, abunamini. So le app is going to assist wonke umuntu oxhaphazekileyo ukuze akwazi ukuba ayisebenzise areporte. Njengoba ninibona nje ndinxibile ndisi-stop gender-based violence, sifuna wonke umuntu abe kule campaign yokuba silule ukuhlukumezo labantu. Strengthen the sustainable community development intervention. Somlom, beneficiaries of community nutrition development centers will be increased by 5,979 and 1,513 of whom will be linked to developmental programs. Ngoba sifuna abantu bakuthi bangakhongozeli naphakade. Koko babe nezinto zabo abazenzela zona. An amount of 14.4 million is set aside for this program. Social relief of distress and disaster management. As part of portfolio approach, silisebe kunye nosasa sisebenza kunye ukunikezela i-uniforms esikolo kubantwana abangathathi ntweni. Sibakhuthaze ukuba baqhubeke nesikolo, imeko yasekhaya ingabenzi ibetha amandla. Department will roll out central dignity programs throughout the province to guarantee a shame-free learning environment. A total of 43.8 million is set aside to provide service to individuals and families experiencing undue hardship. Expanded public works programs, naphaya sinazo imali esibekileyo, we're giving opportunities of 3,389 work opportunities for abantu abatsha, 200 of whom will be placed within community development and research services to allow expansion of coverage to reach more people and communities. The budget for that is 12.8 million. Youth development and women development, we have put aside a program of 3 million. Services to elder persons. Speaker, department further commits to ensuring that older persons participate in the active aging program as a way of ensuring that their health status improves. Furthermore, the department intends to promote solidarity among generation and intergenerational partnership, passing on of positive values, promoting moral regeneration, keeping in mind the needs of older and young ones, and encouraging mutual responsive relationship between generations. Sicinga ukuba oku kuza kusincedisa ukulwa nokuxhatshazwa nokubulawa okungenalusini nokudlwengulwa koomakhulu bethu ingakumbi ezilalini nalapho uninzi luhlala khona. Social development ke lisebe elinenkathalo, yiyo lento kwezi nyanga besihla sinyuka sicelebrate bonke bethu abangaphezulu ko-100 years. To this regard, an amount of 91.4 million is set aside to provide care and support services to older persons in the Eastern Cape. Services to persons with disabilities. Somlomo nalapa sinayo imali esibekileyo 31.9 million set aside to provide services to persons with disabilities in the Eastern Cape. Growing and strengthening NPOs esincedisa kakhulu as a department in partnership with them in the Eastern Cape. Sifuna ukuba improve that partnership yoba basincedise sinayo imali esibekileyo for uba basincedise in reducing the rate of unemployed social workers. Somlom and honored members, I have been sleeping sleepless nights thinking about many social workers esizifundisileyo singulo rhulumente kodwa aziphangeli.
Honorable MEC, you have 5 minutes remaining.
Manditsho xa ndigqibezele ukuthi ngenxa yemithandazo siza kuqesha kulo nyaka 200 social workers. Siyakhumbula ke ukuba sagqibela ukuyenza lento uqesha i-social workers ngo-2012. Oko kunzima. So kulo nyaka ke siyapromise ukuthi le 200 social workers izawuqeshwa permanently. Xa ndivala ke somlomo, my office has an open door policy and I'd like to call upon anyone ofuna ukusebenzisana nathi ngenjongo zokuphuhlisa uluntu lwakuthi and make sure we move from social welfare to sustainable social development aze ngaphambili. Ndiyayibeka ke i-budget vote yakwa social development phambi kwenu. Ndisithi somlomo anything my speech is characterized by skill development and moving our communities from a social welfare to sustainable livelihoods. Ngoba social development uyakhathala, together creating a caring society. Enkosi.
Thank you, Honorable MEC. The policy speech and the table documents stand referred to the Portfolio Committee responsible for the subject matter of the vote in terms of Rule 161(2). Honorable members, which I have been in, honorable members, thank you. I have been informed that we have Nkosi Kwazinamba Matanzima from the House of Traditional Leaders. Somebody was saying he is sitting somewhere, I'm not sure, that perhaps they have just gone out. Oh, I'm looking up there. Thank you so much, Nkosi, for joining us. Thank you so much also for Deputy Chief Whip alluding to that fact. Honorable members, you are now excited. Just to state for those who will still come, when we indicate 5 minutes, it does not mean you have to jump to the conclusion. We are just reminding honorable members that they have so they can keep track. I see all of the MECs, as soon as they say 5 minutes, they skip their speech and jump to the conclusion. So, yes, honorable members. We will now, honorable members, we will break for lunch for 45 minutes. That means, yes, for 45 minutes. And we will then be back at 11:35. I hope I'm correct. Yes. At 13:35, sorry. Can I just state, I can see, be quiet on, when we come back, we will have the Deputy Chair of Chairs taking over. It is her maiden presiding. Please be yes, she will take over and preside over the House after. We will now break. Mr. Mzansi?
Honorable members, lunch is served at the dining hall.
Aibo. Aibo.